Hi, and welcome back to David Pattinson's Accused Friends out here on the patio. Wanted to do a video about the honours list. There's been some honours released and discussed in the press. This is the Queen's honours list, and they seem to be doing these a couple of times a year. I don't know if it's always been this way, but some people might remember back to January 1 of this year when Buckingham Palace announced that they were giving a damehood to Alison Saunders, who was and is actively under investigation for criminal negligence, violating the rights of British men, presuming them guilty pre-trial and manipulating evidence to frame them. I wrote to Buckingham Palace after that, asking why they're giving a damehood to someone that is under criminal investigation. No word back yet from the Buckingham Palace, but I'm sure a letter is on its way to me and will arrive in no time. However, the most recent discussion about honours relates to some different people, and I wanted to talk about some of them in this video. Firstly, there's the sage people, the people that insisted Britain needs to go into a lockdown. They're all being honoured for that decision and that recommendation. Again, while there's a citizens' prosecution against the government, presumably against these people as well, I called for the citizens' prosecution of the government against lockdown, and Simon Dolan is, leading that charge right now. But why the sage people are being nominated or recommended for honours is kind of beyond me, and the conclusion I draw from these decisions is that the government and the royal family working together give people honours to get rid of the dissenters, to get rid of opposition to people of disrepute, really, in my view. The government have gone all in on Alison Saunders, saying she was a great person, even though she's a criminal. The government have gone all in on the sage people, saying they're great people, even though they're violating British civil liberties, which is a criminal offence. And, obviously, I think for a lot of people would agree their medical advice is found deeply wanting when you have Sweden, very, very short distance away in the world, no lockdown, no problem. Belarus, no lockdown, no problem. Japan, further away, but no lockdown, no problem. So why we're giving honours to sage people, I don't know. I want to bring up Marcus Rashford. I did a video about him when he was lobbying the government to spend taxpayer money on feeding needy children that were going without meals. And, I thought it was a bit of a disgrace that someone as wealthy as him wanted people less well off than him to give away their money, in this area. Anyway, he's been honoured for this, not so much for the work that he's done, I don't think, but because he's black. In the previous video I talked about how Luke Shaw, Phil Jones, and Scott McTominay would not have been lauded had they done exactly the same thing as Marcus Rashford. But as it was right in the middle of all the Black Lives Matter protests, the government wanted to look compassionate, and they've used Marcus Rashford as a tool, and I think it's totally patronising to him to give him an MBE for wanting taxpayers to spend yet more money. I mean, Rishi has committed 2 trillion of our money this year, taking us from 2 trillion to 4 trillion in even more debt. And I think we need to start lauding people who are calling for taxpayer abuse to end, calling for runaway debt to end, calling for integrity of the pound to begin, and for abuse and total debasement of our currency to end once and for all. And people that are committed to debasing the currency or advocating for more taxpayer abuse need to be punished, not rewarded, in my view. I think Marcus Rashford is a good guy, but I think he needs to show more respect to taxpayers. Then I'd be happy for him to have an MBE, not when he's calling for more taxpayer abuse. But I mean, people follow the lead. I mean, if you've got people like Boris Johnson and Rishi abusing taxpayers so much, Rishi, total debt slave master, consigning young people like Marcus Rashford and his his kids, if he goes on to have kids, to massive amounts of debt that they didn't consent to. We need to be punishing these people, not rewarding these people. We have Lorraine Kelly, who was honoured. She used to work on Blue Peter. So when I first came across her, she does the show Loose Women, I believe. I think she was out there just a couple of weeks ago absolutely ripping the anti-lockdown people who were protesting in Trafalgar Square for spreading the virus. And I looked up her comments, which I assumed would be identical when the Black Lives Matter protests were going on by the tens of thousands in London. There was not a whiff of criticism of those people for spreading the virus. And I guess hypocrisy is what gets you honours these days. It used to be merit, it used to be achievement, it used to be standing up for British rights. But in Lorraine Kelly's example, it's hypocrisy. That's what she's being rewarded for. It's propping up government hypocrisy, and there's no more hypocrisy from any other institution on earth, I don't think, than the British government. Finally, I want to highlight Captain Tom. No one has more respect for Captain Tom than I do, for a few reasons. So he's from Bedfordshire, where I'm from. His grandson goes to Bedford School, where I went. It's a top place. Captain Tom served our country with distinction. He's a totally patriotic guy. But he was knighted for raising money for the NHS. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what he wants to do. But I do want to point out in this video that had he been raising money for private medical institutions that had given up their properties to help the NHS, had he been raising money for private businesses that had suffered financial hardship while they had been locked down to save the NHS, he would not have been knighted. He was knighted not for the action he took in walking around the garden or raising money, but because it was for the NHS. And the government treat the NHS as a religious institution. There's worshipping of the NHS. We call it our NHS, even though it's not opened up to the scrutiny it should be. I mean, surely an institution that we've had to lock down our entire economy for to help save, to prop up, because it was under capacity, because it was mismanaged. Why aren't we giving this institution proper scrutiny? And it's not Captain Tom's job. I'm just pointing out the double standard. I think the honours list needs to go back to being merit-based. The other thing about the honours list I've noticed is it's 50% men, 50% women, and 13% of these BAME people, the ethnic minority folks. How's that coincidence connected to merit? I mean, surely it should just be merit. If it's 100% of women achieving all the merit, it should just be all women. If it's 100% of BAME people achieving all the merit, it should just be them. If we're trying to be as politically correct as we can, the honours system isn't worth the paper it's written on, and I think more and more of these people should be calling it out, saying it's patronising to the people we're giving the honours to, and that they don't want it. The real heroes of this year, for me, are the dissenters to lockdown, the people that have gone up against the government, said these people are violating British civil liberties, people like Peter Hitchens, people like Simon Dolan, people like Piers Corbyn. They're the real people we should be honouring. People that are calling out the government, people that are holding the government to account, people that are asking the government to obey the law, and threatening them with criminal consequences, as they have not done, and they continue to violate the law as we go into lockdown too. So a lot of hypocrisy, not only from the government, but now from the royal family. They're using the honours to prop up criminals, in the case of Alison Saunders and Sage, and they're using it to push a political agenda in the cases of Rashford, Kelly, and Captain Tom. So I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.